Let's go for a test ride.
Shokes are on. Let's go for it.
Welcome back to the MX Garage. I'm Pierre and this is my racing lawnmower. I'm a little sick and couldn't upload last video. I almost had the full video done, but then I broke my phone and I lost 80% of the footage. Then I got sick, but now I'm doing a little better. I'm back on it and trying to finish the video. After shredding the belt last time, I replaced it and went out for another run. But the engine wasn't happy. Running way too rich, equals black spark plugs, weak spark, and is serious bugging. Definitely not race ready. And just when I wanted to go for a last run, I broke the steering. So in today's episode, I'm fixing the steering, tuning the engine, and then getting back on the MX-1. So let's get started.
This is my racing lawnmower. Today I will break it, then fix it, and then tune the carburetors and see if I feel any performance difference. Typically I will use my training cars, but I'm not sure if that's possible today. Let's see if I can even drive it outside. Getting the racing lawnmower on the lift with a broken steering was actually quite a task, but this is how it looks. What I noticed was this. I think I never welded it properly, since I tagged it and then left it on the table, never took this part off to actually weld it completely. And something else I realized which happened is that this piece got bent. So I will definitely need to bend it back and then strengthen it. But let's start by taking off the wheel. The obvious damage is of course that this one down here is missing. However, if you look at this one, you can see it's in a completely different angle than it used to be. It should be parallel to this one. And similar on the other side, both of those are also pointing up. So what I will do is remove the bent welder plate on it and then take it from there. I used the hammer to bend the heim joints back and you can see now that it's pretty close. Next up, I will clean up the paint and weld up the last heim joint. I welded the piece back on and in my opinion the welds look actually pretty good and much stronger than the ones before. I also reinforced it inside here and here. But next up I want to reinforce it. So we'll cut a plate and weld it on right here. And now I just need to weld it and then it should be hopefully a little bit better. All the stuff you have seen until now was at least a week ago. I'm finally back. I'm still a little sore on the throat. I was sick and had a lot of other things to deal with. But let's align the steering of my lawnmower. So what do people mean when talking about alignment? Well, you have three main variables in alignment. And that is caster, camber and toe. This is the part which is attached to the pivot point and to the wheel. And for now I just exchange it with this rod here, which perfectly fits. In this racing lawnmower, my caster is set. However, my camber and toe is adjustable. Caster is basically this angle. And you want the top to go a little bit backwards, because that gives you straight line stability. What do I mean by straight line stability? If you ever have driven a car, then you probably notice when you slip the wheel, the car tries to steer to a neutral position, to the straight position again. That is the result of the caster leaning backwards. And I went for somewhere around 7 degrees. I'm not 100% sure if it's the best amount. It's something I found off the internet, and so far I'm quite happy with it. So what can I adjust? I can adjust the camber, which is basically this rotation, which I want to have to roughly between -2 and -3, meaning that the top part is leaning in a little bit. If you think about the race car stance, then the wheels are often leaned in a little bit, and that is for better cornering. So if you're going through the corner, let's say I will turn to the right, so going that way, and the wheel is like this. In the right corner, the outer wheel will straighten up a bit, and through that you will have better traction. There's more force on the outer wheels, and so it's important that they are more straight to have the biggest surface. I will go with a -2, -3 roughly. And then I have toe, that is basically this axis. So how far my wheels are pointing in or out from each other. If you look at your feet and point your toe in, that's toe in. If you point your toes out, it's toe out. And I will go with a toe of 0, so both wheels are pointing in the same direction. When you do an alignment, you have to do it in a specific order. You always have to start with caster, then continue with camber, and then finish it off with toe, because they will affect each other, and if you do it in a different order, you will mess the other values up. Since my camber is set, let me figure out my caster. To adjust my caster, I have these heim joints, which I can get further in or out, and thereby adjust my caster. How do I measure it? Technically, you can just download an app on your phone, but I will use this device. It has a bubble here, and I have to have this bottle in the middle to show me which caster. Since my camber is fixed, I will start with my caster. So we'll use this, place it roughly in the middle of the rod, get this bubble to be in the center. Here we go. And it's at roughly 0 degrees. So I need to get it quite a bit further out. And let's measure again. Now this is set. Now it's at 2.5, which I quite like. So I will do the same with the other side. This thing I will attach down here, just as the extra safety, so if something comes loose, this won't start flying out. It will be loose, but it can't physically escape as long as this one is inside here. There's not enough travel in between these, so that the axle can fall out. To adjust my toe, I have this part. This attaches to the steering rack and has this long knot on, which I can twist out and twist in, thereby extending the distance between the steering rack and the wheel, and thereby adjusting my toe. First I like to put it all the way inside, just twist it a little bit, then get the other one in, also all the way. I'm actually gonna move it one step out to have more angle. Let's see how that goes. So this is how it looks now. I can also steer it quite easily. Next up I would need to have it in the middle. Make sure that these are pointing straight. I can already see that this one isn't. So I just turn it further out. What I will do later is take an angle to make sure that between these two is 90 degrees. And then I know that they are pointing straight. And the same thing on the other side. There we go. It's not perfect, but I will adjust it more later. So I will now focus on the carburetors and the tuning of it. But before I touch the carburetors, I actually want to remove the spark plugs, just to see how they look and see if I can tell if they're running rich or not. If you're wondering what those cables are, that is connected to my RPM tacho. Here we go. As you can see here, it's really black, meaning it runs really rich. And that was kind of expected, but I also have the feeling that because they are so black, the spark is bad, and that's why it was misfiring in the last test run. So I will clean those, put them back in on both sides, and then start adjusting the carburetor. I will just use some 320 grit. You don't want to remove material, you just want to clean it a little bit. Before and after. It's not quite perfect yet, but let me go a little bit more. Let's get to tune the carburetor. So I have a performance carburetor, a Mikuni-style carburetor, which you can dial in multiple ways. What we want to do is to adjust the air fuel mixture. There's different options on how to do that. We can change the jetting inside, and we have 2 screws outside in this case. The screw down here is for low RPM, and the screw up here is for higher RPM. However, you need to establish a baseline with your jets, and then you can go a little bit up and a little bit down with those. And right now, my idle baseline is completely whack. As you can see, it's completely black, and that's not something I can adjust like this. If it's a little bit black, probably, but what I need to do is I need to open it up, and then I will show you the needle. I'm just gonna take a few things apart. Make sure you don't drop any parts, because some of them are quite small, and you will need all of them, so better be a little bit careful. To give you a better idea on how those carburetors work, and why I selected one of those instead of a standard one, I'm gonna take off the air filter. So when you look in here, that is where the air goes in. And if I lift this up, you can see there's the needle, the golden thing in the middle. I don't know if you can actually see it. When you go full throttle, this opens fully, and the fuel actually goes up along the needle and then gets atomized and goes into the engine. So what we need to change is the position on how far this needle goes down into the carburetor. To do that, I have to compress the spring and get this part out. Don't drop anything. Yeah. But this is the part we need to change. While we're at it, let's also do it for the other one. And don't drop any of your pieces. Let's see if I have all the pieces. As you can see, I found all the pieces even though I dropped them. And the adjustment we need to do is, as you can see, there's a lot of rings, and then there's a black circle. This circle we need to put one step further up, so that this needle is further down when it's in the carburetor. The easiest way to get them off is actually just to put them on the table, then press down. You hear a little click, then it's the part where you really don't want to lose it. Here we go. And it's off. So let's just go one step further up. Then I like to use something and push it down. Here we go. And hopefully you can see the difference now. As you can see, the left one is one step further up than the right one. So now we will change the right one so they're the same. And after that, I just put it back together.
My voice definitely didn't get better, but I got to a point where I put the front wheels on and lifted the rear wheels. Now I'm gonna tune the carburetors. The air fuel mixture screw I turned all the way in, and then 1.5 rotations out. And that gives me a good starting point of going either more rich or more lean. Then there's the default throttle position, which is basically the gap in here. When I don't have anything under this throttle, it will be a little bit more open than usually, because I need to readjust it, and it's just easier to have it running and then slowly turn it down than going the other way around, because then I always have to hold the steering wheel, because then I always have to hold the throttle. If I put it a little bit higher by default, I don't have to touch the throttle and can just go down until it's about to cut off. Just in the beginning, I will leave the air filters off, so you have a better view of what's going on. That's so loud. It's still running a little bit rich, so I'm considering to dial the needle one step further. Before I did the tuning, the green marker wasn't even visible. It was so rich that it wasn't showing. So now, at least now I'm in the green area. This screw over here, which is responsible for the mixture of the fuel and air, I dialed nearly all the way in. So from 1.5, I dialed it into only a half. So I think to get it further down, I will need to go one step further on the needle. So I think I'm just gonna do that real quick. I changed the needle position, so it's one step further in, meaning there's less fuel coming in. Let's try this again and see how that goes. So let's just start with a bit of choke. It's like 0 degrees here, Celsius. So let's try. It still didn't change. Let's try this again. It's now it's running lean. So it's definitely a change. Let me just check my fuel thingies. Now it's running a bit too lean. Let's try this again.
I still need to do some tuning, and I'm running out of time and voice. So with that, thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode. Bye!